So there's one play against Pittsburgh that encapsulates so much of what the 49ers want to be and who it looks like the 49ers are early in this 2023 season. It's a play that shows us execution, but it also shows us effort. It also shows us desire. Now, execution, probably a little bit more important than the back half of that. But when you get both execution and effort, and it takes effort to get execution, I get it, they're intertwined. When you get both, you get the result that the 49ers got against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've already talked so much about this play. I've written an entire article dedicated to this play. The article is in the description for you. But now we're going to go over tape of this play because you know me, I like to pick the most important game tape from the 49ers performances, win or loss, and I like to analyze it. I like to bring it here to the channel so that you have a chance to see what we're talking about through the same lens as the 49ers coaches. So this is it. It is the 65-yard touchdown run from Christian McCaffrey with that Brandon Aiyuk block. And here's the Ray McCloud block of Patrick Peterson that put the game away for all intents and purposes against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to go through several things on this play. One, and I have a bullet point list here of 7 things. So one, hat on a hat from the offensive line. I want you to watch across all 5 here how well the 49ers do to immediately engage a defender. The play is called 19 structure full. This is basic zone blocking for the 49ers. Take the guy in front of you, make sure you put a hat on a hat. So from the right side to the left side, Colton McKivitz all the way to Trent Williams. Let's play it for just a couple seconds. This is what, 2 seconds in? Hats are on hats everywhere. Perfect execution of zone blocking. Down in right in the middle of the screen, you have Colton McKivitz engaging a blocker. You have Spencer Burford moving up to the second level against the linebacker. This is not easy, and I'm going to rewind just a little bit. Spencer Burford is the 49ers right guard. So the right guard here, Colton McKivitz looks like he's alone. He's not going to be alone. McKivitz, his job is going to be to take the defensive end, who's just to his right. TJ Watt is on the left side of your screen, 90. The 49ers are going to leave Watt unblocked on this play. Why do they leave him unblocked? Well, because they believe that if they block everybody else, then Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be running to the opposite side of TJ Watt, is going to be able to beat him without needing to dedicate a blocker. So McKivitz, just to the right of Watt, left side of your screen, is going to be moving toward the right. If you're looking at the screen, he's going to take the defensive end, and Spencer Burford has to reach the second level. They call it a reach block. He's going to have to reach the linebacker 55. It's not easy for Burford, a guard, to shoot up field 4 yards and engage the linebacker quickly. But watch, he does that right now. He's got 55. Now everybody else has got a hat on a hat. The center, Jake Brendel, is on 54. Over at left guard for the 49ers, Aaron Banks, you have him engaging 57. And then the second thing I want you to watch is the Kittle-Williams combo block on the right side of your screen. At this point, just a few seconds after the snap, this sucker's already executed. You can see that Trent Williams and George Kittle are taking out Minkah Fitzpatrick and Alex Highsmith. But we should rewind, and now your eyes should be on the right side of the screen. You see big Trent Williams on the right. You see George Kittle next to him. Brandon Aiyuk is also lined up in a stack there with those 3 guys. The job is going to be to take out Highsmith, who's 56, who's at the very right edge of your screen, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is one of the most dangerous DBs in the game. He's not currently in the screen, but it's going to be a run blitz from Fitzpatrick. So roll just a little bit. Now you can see Fitzpatrick on the right, and you could see Highsmith on the right. You could see that George Kittle is engaging Highsmith, and you could see the big Trent Williams, and another difficult ask for an offensive lineman is about to engage Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, here's one thing. Minkah Fitzpatrick is 111 pounds lighter than Trent Williams. So when you go to this shot right here, you see Williams barreling down on Fitzpatrick. That's a block that most offensive linemen can't make. You have to have freakish athleticism to be able to command that kind of size in space with the requisite quickness and dexterity to be able to eliminate a much smaller and quicker Minkah Fitzpatrick. But boom, Trent Williams does. Now, one of the reasons that this mess on the right side works in the 49ers' favor is because of Brandon Aiyuk. The screenshot right now, the grab right now, we stopped it at this spot, is after Brandon Aiyuk executed the fool block. We call it 19 structure fool. Well, it's called structure fool because Brandon Aiyuk does a little trickery at the start of it. Notice at the snap that Brandon Aiyuk is lined up, very bunched up to the line of scrimmage. And then look to see what Brandon Aiyuk said about the assignments in the run game for this football game. It was a crazy game plan in the run game, just in terms of our assignments on the outside, having to go in tight, blocking those guys on the inside, linebackers, having to go in tight, blocking linebackers outside linebackers are edge rushers. So if we take a look at this, we're going to go back to the video and we're going to see Brandon Aiyuk lined up tight inside, opposite of 56, who's an edge rusher. Now, I talk about difficult asks. Most teams, maybe the 49ers might be the only team that is asking a wide receiver to engage in a brief block with an edge rusher. But if you closely watch Brandon Aiyuk, it's exactly what he does. Very right side of your screen. It's almost bleeding over the edge. Aiyuk locked in with 56. He locks in with 56 right now before George Kittle reaches 56. So that's what the fool block is called. 56 thinks that he's going to be taking on Brandon Aiyuk, when in reality, Aiyuk is the first assault on 56, but then George Kittle can wipe him out right there. And as soon as George Kittle arrives to wipe him out, what does Brandon Aiyuk do? He takes off. So again, one more time. From the snap, Aiyuk very quickly engages 56. All right, now George Kittle's there. Aiyuk takes off. Where does he take off? Aiyuk takes off to flatten Damontae Kazee. And there goes Christian McCaffrey all the way to the end zone. Now, we do have to rewind. There's a lot more that we have to go through. So Aiyuk, right here, Aiyuk is looking around. He's, what do I do? And this is where the pancake of Damontae Kazee comes in. And we go back to Brandon Aiyuk's quote. I didn't even know what to do. I just saw Christian breaking free, and I went to chase somebody. All right, point taken. Back to here. At this point right here, Brandon Aiyuk has sprinted out. He's looking for his next assignment. He said, I didn't know what to do because it was a little bit of a messy play as far as what Pittsburgh was running. Well, it wasn't messy as far as what the 49ers were running. Christian McCaffrey had gotten through the first line of defense. The 49ers tasked Christian McCaffrey with beating 29. 29 is Levi Wallace, the cornerback, crashing in. McCaffrey's spin move is what beat Levi Wallace. So maybe we should put 0.5 on the board first. Watch Christian McCaffrey get this handoff and spin, just viciously to beat 29. Boom, right there. That was as nasty as it gets. That's worth a replay. It's one-on-one. Christian McCaffrey against Levi Wallace. And Christian McCaffrey wins. Whoop. Spin on his way. Now, coming off the spin, Brandon Aiyuk knows, okay, it's time to kick it into gear. So Aiyuk is watching McCaffrey as he releases from his full block. You could already see Aiyuk looking to the right, sees McCaffrey about to spin. And that means that Aiyuk, we'll just watch Aiyuk here on the right side of the screen. That means he's ready to engage heat-seeking missile mode. Heat-seeking missile, got him. Blast Damontae Kazee, and that springs Christian McCaffrey. Now that leads us to Ray McCloud's sprint now. McCloud isn't even in the picture here. McCloud is, you see TJ Watt on the left? Ray McCloud is lined up way off the screen to the left. He's out on the far side, out wide. Now, Ray McCloud is one of the fastest 49ers. Today, Kyle Shanahan was asked if he had ever blocked in front of a play in college when he was a receiver at 70 yards downfield. And Shanahan said no, because I wasn't fast enough to do that. But consider that McCloud is way over to the left side of the screen, and he makes it way over to the right side of the screen, plus 65 yards downfield by the end of this play. That is Ray McCloud's sprint. So let's watch it, and let's appreciate how far Ray McCloud had to run. because Christian McCaffrey had to run a long way, and there's Ray. Made it all the way from the other side of the formation to help block, and guess who he's blocking? Patrick Peterson. Guess who he's blocking for 17 yards and finishing it off there? Patrick Peterson. Touchdown, 49ers. On the note of Ray McCloud, why did he hustle so much to get across the field? Sometimes that backside block means a lot. Once I heard the crowd going, I took off. It means more when you like your teammate, and I love my dog, McCaffrey. It's a family, man. We go so hard for each other. It shows on the field. Okay? Well, it showed on the field right here. Again, we can play this full thing in its entirety. Ray McCloud sprinting across the entire formation, probably a good 75 yards of running on the hypotenuse to take out Patrick Peterson there at the end. On top of the Aiyuk pancake, on top of the Aiyuk full block, on top of hat on a hat, it's set up. Christian McCaffrey's dive for a touchdown. And also, McCaffrey slowed up here to make sure it wouldn't be a clip. It's nice work from Christian McCaffrey. I didn't even talk about Christian McCaffrey's cutback. First you have the spin, right? Here comes the spin. Whoop. And here comes the cutback, right? Right here. There's the cutback. And that cutback and slowdown is what prevents Ray McCloud from clipping Patrick Peterson. So he's got Patrick Peterson on a swivel now. And just the teamwork and the execution here is second to none for the 49ers. Even the runner is helping his blocker. And it all ended up good. So anyway, this play shows that the 49ers are serious. It reminds me a lot of week 1, 1998. Overtime, Garrison Hurst, 96-yard touchdown run. Terrell Owens was sprinting down that play, laid a huge block against the New York Jets, and Hurst was able to stumble into the end zone, and the 49ers won that game in overtime. That was a Super Bowl caliber 49ers team too. They were on a mission. They actually beat the Packers that year after losing to the Packers for 3 straight seasons in the playoffs. They won in the wild card round with Owens. Owens, who was sprinting down sidelines and blocking in week 1, Owens made the winning catch in the wild card round. The reason the 49ers were eliminated that year by 2 points in the divisional round against Atlanta was because Garrison Hurst broke his ankle on the first play of the game against the Falcons. I think that it's safe to say that with a healthy Garrison Hurst, the 49ers would have beaten the Falcons, and the Falcons ended up going to the Super Bowl that year and losing to the Denver Broncos. It actually would have been a matchup between the 49ers and their former offensive coordinator, Mike Shanahan, that year. We definitely would have been writing about that right now, but it didn't happen. The 49ers ended up losing probably because of injury in that 1998 season. But they were still running and gunning from week 1. When you see that type of investment and that type of effort from your players on multiple levels, I think that it's safe to say that this team is in a mode where they're truly gunning for something special at the end. Doesn't mean they're going to win it all. It means that the 49ers are definitely, though, in a headspace and a mentality and just in a general state of execution right now that they need to be in if they intend to make a serious run at the Super Bowl. We often talk about Shanahan's offense needing to gel. Shanahan's offense needing to, find and fire on all cylinders, find a rhythm and fire on all cylinders. And we talk about midseason form and we talk about postseason form. And more often than not, it's taken the 49ers a longer time to hit that late season form. And that's when they've dominated, right? That's when they've gone on their runs. They started 2-4 in 2021. They started 3-4 in 2022. Even in 2019, when they started hot, the offense didn't. Took a while for the offense to get going. And then, oh boy, that run game against the Packers in the playoffs after the 2019 season was absolutely on fire. It was completely lethal. The special thing about this opener against Pittsburgh was that the 49ers looked like they were at least in midseason form as far as their run game went. Remember, before they got Christian McCaffrey last year, the 49ers ranked number 26 in run DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. They didn't have a great run game last year. Christian McCaffrey showed up. They were number 3 after he showed up. So he obviously helped turbocharge things. You can see why when you watch the game tape. He's got a special skill set. But also, I thought that they gelled as the season went along, and they figured out the cohesion aspect of it. Block for your running back. The running back runs for his blockers. You know, there's a lot of little nuances that go into it that make this sport truly beautiful, make it a true team sport. Well, this year, the 49ers seemed to have that down earlier. It wasn't just this play. It was also the entire game's worth of runs. I mean, the 49ers in the locker room, Kyle Juszczyk said to Christian McCaffrey, I think one's about to pop. And this was the second play of the second half. So he was right. The 49ers were getting closer and closer and closer to this perfect cohesion, and they attained it when they really needed it, with Pittsburgh having scored that touchdown heading into halftime. This slammed the door on the Steelers. And again, from the very start, from hat on a hat at the line of scrimmage, right there, hat on a hat, perfectly executed, to the star power of Christian McCaffrey spinning away from Levi Wallace, to Brandon Aiyuk executing not one but two blocks on the play, to Ray McCloud busting his tail to take out Patrick Peterson, and then Christian McCaffrey's final dive. From all of that to the final result, I think you have a play that shows the 49ers are truly serious. It was a work of art for the 49ers, and it was worthy of this dissection. Now they got the Rams. And the Rams looked really good defensively against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Seattle lost both of its tackles due to injury, starting offensive tackles. And they only picked up 12 yards of total offense in the second half. Aaron Donald wrecked the game. 5 total pressures for him. Got stronger as the game went along. You have a little bit of a new look on the Rams defense. They don't have some of the names they used to have before. Guys like Leonard Floyd are gone. Obviously, no more Von Miller. He was already gone last season. I mean, the Rams are, but the Rams are built around 99. And as long as he's there, this is a unit to take seriously, especially if they gave up only 12 yards of offense to the Seahawks in the second half. So we'll see if the 49ers can continue to keep the foot on the gas offensively and execute the way that they did. They've obviously bludgeoned the Rams in the past. They've won 8 of the past 9, and we'll see if they make it 9 of 10. A little bit later today, we're going to have our big 49ers preview, the offense against the Rams defense. So obviously this plays right into that. And I'll have an article coming up on The Athletic shortly. Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz talked to both of those guys in the locker room. You know, both of them have taken heat for the pass protection, but we have to point out that the run blocking was damn good for the 49ers. Burford, McKivitz, and I got one more point that I didn't get up on the screen that I'm going to finish this with. Burford got to the second level, though. He got his hat on 55. McKivitz, 98. Good job by both. The final point I have, and you can watch this play as I put it down here, might be very significant in the big picture. Take a look at Aaron Banks throughout this play for as long as you could see him. So Banks, left guard, third-year player for the 49ers now, just to the right of center from our angle, looking at it, the reverse angle. So Banks is going to take on 57. Brendel's going to help him out. Then Brendel's blocking 2 guys as well. Let's give a little shout out to Brendel. Brendel initially takes on 57, helps Banks, and then moves on to the linebacker 54. So another difficult reach situation for Jake Brendel. Blocks 2 guys, gets him out of the play, opens it up for Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey spins out of the tackle. Now, Banks never leaves the screen. Top left. That's big Aaron Banks. That's maybe 325, maybe even 330 pounds of mass. That camera is not going to lose Aaron Banks. I mean, his feet are still on the screen. That camera did not lose Aaron Banks. Let's verify this. Banks does not lose the frame. The frame does not lose Aaron Banks both ways. Look, Banks is still in it. Banks is still in it, blocking his ass off. Now he's sprinting. Banks is still in it. I could still see him. It's going to cut off his head. I could still see his feet. Aaron Banks never left the frame. And he's, the second person to congratulate Christian McCaffrey. That is impressive. That's big time stuff right there. Aaron Banks, just think of this in context. This is a player who came in as the largest offensive lineman that this regime had ever drafted. I think he checked in at 338 pounds at the Senior Bowl in 2021. Everybody always talks about 49ers offensive linemen and Shanahan's zone scheme needing to be nimble and light so they can execute the reach blocks that we saw up there. You want guys that are quick, that could get off the line of scrimmage. Everybody always had talked about that. And they went out and drafted Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is a big guy. Like 340 is huge. And people are like, ooh, what's going on? Well, the 49ers wanted a little bit more power. They wanted somebody that could anchor so they could take care of some of those pass protection issues at left guard. But they also, I think, wanted to run some more power stuff in the run game. That didn't mean they were going to abandon their zone running plays. In fact, what we saw here was one of the 49ers staples. This was a structure zone running play. So you still have to be able to be athletic if you're somebody like Aaron Banks. And the fact that they drafted him at that weight, yet still needed him to do zone blocking kind of stuff, meant that it was on Aaron Banks to get himself in the kind of shape that could run. And it's not easy to run at 330 plus pounds, especially if you're taking snap after snap after snap. This is exhausting stuff. Well, a couple years later, here entering year 3 after a good year 2 for Aaron Banks, it took him a year to rework his body, be ready to start in 2022. Now in his second year starting, third year in the league, this is what Aaron Banks is doing from that left guard position. He's mauling 57. He's breaking away. He's entering a sprint, and he's taken off 65 yards downfield right behind Christian McCaffrey. He's even got the energy to lift his arms up and celebrate. That camera never lost Aaron Banks. I think he safely emerged as the 49ers' second best offensive lineman. Now, Brendel, good too. The top 3 guys are on the left side. The 49ers ran left all game. So the top 3 guys on the left side, Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel. Burford and McKivitz have to get better. I'm going to talk about that in this article that's coming out. We'll talk about it on a video a little bit later tonight. But the left side of that offensive line is looking absolutely lethal. Do you think that Aaron Banks and Trent Williams are the best left side in the league? Well, I wouldn't have said that a few days ago because I wasn't that sure about Aaron Banks. But it looks like he's taken a massive jump since last year. He didn't give up a single pressure in pass protection either. He was the only 49ers offensive lineman that delivered a clean sheet. And then he does this. Then he's sprinting with Christian McCaffrey down the sideline. So, boy, I mean, there is so much to be excited about if you're talking about Aaron Banks. And it's just a cautionary tale to a lot of the people who get this stuff wrong. That was a guy that they tried to write off at the start. The NFL is not an easy place to succeed. It takes development. It takes work. It's not an instant gratification league. Well, Aaron Banks didn't get the instant gratification of playing right away in 2021. Played 5 snaps in garbage time that season against Jacksonville. But now it's all paying off for the 49ers. They got a hell of a guard on a rookie contract delivering there on that left side. And they have adaptability now. They can run more power stuff with him. They can pass protect well with him, and he could run with the best of them in that outside zone. So this play to me, I mean, it was just so emblematic of everything that went right for the 49ers against Pittsburgh, and a team that has receivers that have that kind of dog mentality blocking wise. And, when there's camaraderie like the 49ers have too. I mean, Ray McCloud saying that he blocked for McCaffrey because he loves him. I mean, that kind of stuff, this is how title winning teams talk. And I've written big pieces about the 49ers of the dynastic era. And some of this stuff was really important in their locker room as well. And then the schematic stuff, well, Bill Walsh was a genius back then. Kyle Shanahan is cooking up some crazy stuff. He's asking really, really tough assignments from his receivers. Somebody like Brandon Aiyuk definitely executed those tough assignments in the game for the 49ers. So just the way it went very well. And now they've got the Rams coming up at SoFi this weekend. All right, let's move to a little bit of a 49ers Q&A. Let's move to 49ers Q&A. I did not mean to X out. Sometimes it happens. Good time for the screen to go black, though, right after I finished the little film breakdown. Post your questions. Oh, man, I'm thirsty. I don't think anything's up with Lenore. Lenore stayed in the game. I think if there's anything in the secondary, it's with Ambry Thomas, who didn't play in the second half. So the 49ers played Lenore in the slot and Ambry Thomas on the outside in the first half. In the second half, Lenore moved out to the outside, and Isaiah Oliver came into the slot, and Ambry Thomas, who had played outside in the first half, sat. And today, Kyle Shanahan refused to go into details, which usually means that he just doesn't want to talk about a player that they had a bench, doesn't want to throw him under the bus. And this is the question that I just answered. Do you get the impression Ambry got removed? Yes, I do. Shanahan wouldn't say as much, but I think we can read in between the lines. I have to be that disrespectful to Saleh. I think he's doing a good job with the Jets right now. Couldn't help that Aaron Rodgers got hurt. They still won the game. Way too early to talk about that. I think Steve Wilks has done a good job as the 49ers defensive coordinator through one game so far. 49ers special teams. Well, I was impressed with Jake Moody. That was a good start. You know, Jake Moody was the first kicker since Justin Tucker to go 3 for 3 on field goals in his NFL debut. That's good company to be in as a rookie. I thought Mitch Wishnowsky was good. I mean, he was pinning him back inside the 20. Wishnowsky temporarily handled kickoffs. We'll see Moody start to handle those as he gets further removed from his quad injury. I didn't like the kick coverage as much. I'd give it a C, but I'm also not going to read too much into kick coverage from one game. I mean, in a way, it was still preseason mode for a lot of people. So you're getting a lot of guys to play together that haven't played together yet in a game situation because preseason isn't taken as seriously as it used to be. Will Drake eat more this Sunday? I think it depends on who's double teamed. And I think it's very likely that Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave attract more blocking attention, which should leave Drake Jackson open to do more damage again. Can the 49ers go 9-0 over the next several weeks? Well, I am looking ahead a little bit because I'm allowed to, because I'm not part of the team. And I think that 4-0 is totally reasonable to gun for, expect, whatever terminology you want to use. But the Cowboys are week 5. And everybody thinks the 49ers and the Cowboys are the two best teams in football right now. I wouldn't discount the Eagles either, but they're not till later. I don't put the cart in front of the horse. Okay. You know the 49ers are better than the Rams. You know they're better than the New York Giants. You know that they're better than the Arizona Cardinals. Fine. They take care of business for the next 3 weeks. They're 4-0. But we don't know exactly how it's going to go against Dallas. Nobody does. So saying 9-0 just kind of assumes that Dallas is going to be a win on Sunday Night Football. I'm not going to sit here and do that. So I try to take it one game at a time, but I'm an analyst and I realize the importance of the 1 seed. And if you want to get that 1 seed, you got to string together a lot of wins. So I look at the big picture too. The furthest I am willing to look right now is through 4 weeks. I'm saying this is the 49ers picture through 4 weeks. And guess what? They're going to have to play this game against the Rams with week 3 in mind because week 3 is a Thursday night game against the Giants. It's a short week. So the pitch count that you have for Bosa this week, that's because you got a Thursday night game. He's got to be able to turn around and play against the New York Giants. Stuff like that, they're going to have to consider. So the next 2 games, we're looking at them in tandem against the Rams, against the New York Giants. So it's totally fine to look ahead to week 3. And then I look ahead to week 4 because the Cardinals are terrible. So beyond that, I'm not pushing it though. Because beyond that, it's the Cowboys. Then it's the Browns, right? I mean, this stuff gets serious really, really quickly for the 49ers. They want to stack wins while they can right now. Yeah, listen, all the stuff about Purdy, lack of arm strength, dink and dunk, that is all coming from people who don't know the game. It's as simple as that. I see so much of it online. You go on Twitter and stuff like that, and it's just these like fake smart talking points. Faking being smart. And it's you actually watch tape of Brock Purdy, And there's absolutely no issue with his arm strength, and there never has been. They automatically assume because he's a little shorter than maybe the average prototypical quarterback, he's a little bit shorter, and he was the last pick of the 7th round, that he must have some sort of physical limitation. But he's actually a faster scrambler than the guy that the 49ers picked at number 3 and invested all those first round picks in. So it's one of those things where you actually look at the data, look at the evidence like this right here. Oh, yeah, lack of arm strength. He just threw one on the rope over 20 yards. Hey, get out of here. That's plus arm strength, if anything. And there's evidence is right in front of people. So it's either you don't know the game or you don't know what you're looking for, or both. And I guess both of those go hand in hand. But yes, people did say the same stuff about Joe Montana. They ended up being very wrong. They were wrong at the time, and they look tremendously foolish now. And you already see it with this whole Brock Purdy thing. I think a lot of people are deleting stuff, backing away from takes, and because they were wrong, and it's looking really damn foolish right now. So it is what it is. I guess history repeats itself, but Brock Purdy is definitely not physically limited, and he's got a hell of a high ceiling. Brock Purdy's ceiling, if we want to talk ceilings right now, because that's what everybody wanted to talk about in the preseason, I'll tell you what Brock Purdy's ceiling is. It's higher than Trey Lance's. Why? Because he's faster than Trey Lance. Why? Because the arm strength is right on par with Trey Lance's where it matters on those intermediate throws. Does Brock Purdy have a weakness? I think maybe on some of the deep throws. Does that matter? Not really, especially in this offense, because they're not rearing up to go deep every single play. It's just not the scheme. That modern NFL, 90 to 95% of the throws are going to be within 25 yards. You're only taking that calculated shot every once in a while, and we've already seen Purdy hit that one too. So I don't see what the big deal is. So I'm going to be addressing this a little bit later. Any concern if the 49ers right side of the O-line continues to struggle? What's the backup plan? The backup plan is that you got $42 million in cap space, and you're going to wait to see if something materializes on the trade market. You could also go to your on-the-roster backup plans in Matt Pryor, Jalen Moore for now, but those probably aren't going to be as good, right? But anyway, it's too early to enact a backup plan because you've got to develop a sample with Colton McKivitz and Spencer Burford. The sample is not enough if it's only one game large. Yes, Purdy can escape a collapsing pocket, which is a really big part of his skill set. I mean, I've been talking about this the whole time. It's just some of the narrative is just so painfully dumb. It's just repetitive and dumb that I don't entertain every single comment here and there that I see coming across the comment section, just because it's not worth it. But at a certain point, it's just like, okay, this so flies in the face of truth and facts that I just have to show the play. I have to show Brock Purdy powering a football 25 yards downfield into a tight window. And even then, people, they'll see it with their own eyes, but it's like, it just doesn't register. So it's like, whatever. Smash that like button. This is a good point. People might underrate Purdy because of Madden. And I often say this is not Madden, right? Not in terms of a player's rating, but fans sometimes think, oh, you could just like call another pass play, or you can create a player and plug him in at left tackle, or you could make some kind of unrealistic trade, or you could turn off injuries. None of that stuff is true in real life. It is a messy, chaotic game. So even the most talented team has so many more potential traps and landmines that they have to avoid on their way to try to finish the season holding that Lombardi Trophy. So, yeah, it isn't Madden. And I think a lot of people equate it to a video game nowadays, and that just will not lead you to smart football takes. Not many rookies could perform under the conditions. Brock came in against Miami last year, blitzing hell, and he took care of business. Yeah, I mean, and that helped sell the 49ers almost immediately on Brock Purdy. Now, I know that they needed the Seattle game that he played with the broken rib. They needed to see the toughness and that. So it takes a little bit larger of a sample than just one game. But when Brock came in, the Dolphins said, okay, we're just going to blitz the crap out of this guy because he's a rookie and he probably won't be able to handle it. They're wrong. I mean, they had Jalen Phillips hitting Purdy, and he was releasing to George Kittle. The hot reads were on point. He looked like a 10-year vet handling some of those blitzes against the Miami Dolphins. It was significant stuff, and it was special. We'll put it that way. It was special stuff. You're absolutely right, Carlos. You do not see rookies perform that way right out of bed, and Brock Purdy did. Brock Purdy is the guy. Enough of the foolish narratives. Yes. Enough of them. I mean, plenty of people are saying rookies could do what he did in Miami. It's not a straw man argument. Get on the internet and you could see the insanely bad takes regarding Brock Purdy. They're saying that anybody could play quarterback for the 49ers. Oh, just plug anybody in and it works. Okay, go tell that to Trey Lance. He wasn't able to do it at this level. Nowhere near this level. Go tell that to Nick Mullins. Go tell that to CJ Beathard. Go tell that to Brian Hoyer. Shanahan's system, especially against blitzers, it's tough to execute. You have to have a good quarterback to deliver efficient play. So the 49ers have had a total of 2 good quarterbacks under Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. 2. That's it. Nobody else has been close to efficient. So the vast majority of 49ers quarterbacks under Shanahan have not been good. Brian Hoyer, not good. Nick Mullins, not good. CJ Beathard, not good. Trey Lance, not good. Good. Jimmy Garoppolo, good. Brock Purdy. So, no, not it. It's a thing. People are saying that anybody could step in when the documented evidence shows you that that's not the case. You can't just step in and be good unless you are good in this system for Kyle Shanahan. Oh, yeah. Josh Johnson, forgot about him. Josh Johnson, not good. Purdy's ability to read defenses is fantastic. That and his ability to execute the scheme that Kyle Shanahan is putting there. You have to be able to be in lockstep with your play caller. Joe Montana had Bill Walsh. Steve Young had Mike Shanahan, had Bill Walsh before him too, but his best years came with Mike Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, everybody talks about the Kirk Cousins arrangement, right? Because obviously they had some productive years, and Kyle Shanahan's tried to go out and get Kirk Cousins for the 49ers. That was in the past. That was in 2017 when he tried to make that trade. He thought that he might have somebody that he has the same kind of rapport with in Jimmy Garoppolo. That ended up working out, I think, quite as cohesively as Shanahan originally intended. And then the injuries all happen, all this, all that. I think he thinks he has that now with Brock Purdy. And Purdy, has a better physical skill set than somebody like Kirk Cousins. He's faster. Purdy's got elite burst. Elite. Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy, their 10-yard split of the 40-yard dash is 1/100th of a second different. And then you have these people going out and saying that Brock Purdy is physically limited when his 10-yard burst is the same as Lamar Jackson's. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you just going to sit here and try to insult the intelligence of a thoughtful football watcher by saying stuff like this? It's an insult to people's intelligence. It really is. Because you put on the game tape and Brock Purdy, in every single game that he's finished with an intact elbow, or every single game that he's finished healthy, because the Seattle game, he had a broken rib. In every single healthy game, the 49ers have scored 30 or more points. mean, if you don't like the advanced stats, I'll give you the simple ones. If you like the advanced stats, you'll see that Purdy is a top level efficiency quarterback. And top level efficiency comes when the quarterback meshes well with the play caller. It's not all credit to the QB. It's not all credit to the play caller. It's credit to both of them. It is a team game, partnership, both of them plus the rest of the roster. Ed says, I also think Sam Darnold might do well under the Shanahan system. I think so too. The 49ers think so too. I mean, Darnold looked better than Trey Lance under the Shanahan system, and they ran the system to a T this preseason. They threw out the stuff that they had built for Trey Lance in 2021 and 2022, the read option stuff, the QB run stuff. They went back to the Shanahan basics, and they ran camp that way because Lance was no longer going to get preferential treatment. He didn't deserve preferential treatment anymore. Brock Purdy had superseded him. The offense was built around Purdy. They brought in Sam Darnold to compete with Lance for number 2, and Sam Darnold outplayed Lance, so Sam Darnold is 2. They were happy with how he operated the offense in training camp. So if worst comes to worst, then you do need Darnold to run the ship for a little while. Well, if he's running the ship, then I think the 49ers will be fine. I think they're going to continue moving the football. He's a talented quarterback, and they're confident in his final 6 games of last year against Carolina. He was efficient there, and they were happy with his training camp this year. So I think that's a great point. Yeah, I think this is a good point from Mike. I think that Trey Lance, well, I mean, it's clear right now that he was overdrafted. The 49ers were trying to thread a needle. They were trying to get him ready because he was the rawest quarterback that we have ever seen. They were trying to get him ready in a limited window with a championship team, and he got hurt twice. That window just completely shut. So there's no room for Trey Lance on this football team. No reasonable room for him on this football team. QB3 coming out for the number 3 overall pick just won't work. If you get a decent draft pick in return for him, it makes sense. It did make sense. The Cowboys sent over 4. Now, if Trey Lance had been drafted, a little bit later, second or third round, the immediate pressure to thread that needle wouldn't have been there. And he could be a backup for a couple more years. It was the entire, just the deadline pressure of having to get him in to be the starter because you invested so much into him. A little bit of sunk cost fallacy on the 49ers part, but it was that whole dynamic and that phenomenon that made this a really tough situation for Trey Lance and everyone involved. Shanahan and Purdy is the perfect marriage. Brock was made for this offense, and this offense was made for Brock. There you go. Yeah, I think, Shanahan wants a certain robotic nature to his quarterbacks going through reads, and that's where Kirk Cousins comes in and that whole prototype. But I also think that Shanahan, deep down, realizes that he needs a little bit more. He needs a little bit more upside than he's gotten with somebody like Kirk Cousins. And I think that Brock Purdy might bring that to the table. Now, the biggest evidence that we have that Kyle Shanahan realizes that is that he did go out and trade all those number 1 picks to draft Trey Lance because he did want the upside. He wanted the moldable clay with upside. Obviously, Lance wasn't the right fit for that, but that was the vision, right? I've reported on the vision throughout the whole time. I predicted that they would draft Trey Lance back in the day when everybody was saying Mac Jones. I said Trey Lance because I knew the 49ers had a vision. Their vision wasn't just to keep the cycle moving. They wanted that upside, and they thought Lance could give it to them. He didn't. But now Purdy might be able to give it to them. Purdy has a real ceiling. This is the biggest misconception that we heard all training camp. I had people droned on and on and on about Trey Lance's ceiling, acting as if Brock Purdy didn't have a high one. Trey Lance has a lower ceiling than Brock Purdy. That's what people got most wrong. They just assumed because Lance was drafted higher than Purdy that he had a higher ceiling, which is not the case. Just because Lance is 6'4", doesn't mean he have a higher ceiling than Brock Purdy. Quarterback is not solely about height. That's a very small part of it, especially in the modern game. I've seen the Purdy-Russell Wilson comparisons. And people are onto a little bit there because Purdy is able to scramble. He does have that quick burst that Russell had when he was younger to get out of the pocket. But in many ways, Purdy is completely different than Russell Wilson. Russell, his whole career, has struggled to throw from the pocket over the middle of the field. Purdy, I mean, the pocket isn't his greatest strength, maybe because of the lack of height, but he's very, very good out of the pocket. Very good. And I thought he took a big step in week 1 over his 2022 performance. So anyway, if I'm complimenting Purdy for taking some pages out of Russell Wilson's playbook, but I'm also saying that he's better at Russell Wilson's weaknesses, that means that Purdy is taking multiple different good things and putting them together for his own game, which makes it very possible that he is that perfect QB for Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees is probably the comp that we've heard most from people on the inside for Brock Purdy, like as far as the ceiling goes, and that's a pretty damn high ceiling, Drew Brees. So really interesting stuff. All right, guys, everybody, thank you. I'll be on one more time tonight, so I'm going to go take a little bit of a break, but hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the alarm bell so you know when I'm coming live next. Everybody take care.